So the Egyptians were fascinated with the netherworld. And many times when they did their mummifications, they would keep the pineal gland. I mean, the pineal gland is a tiny little radio receiver that sits right on the top of your limbic brain, the seat of the autonomic nervous system, that automatic system. So it's packed, it's a phallus, and it's packed with these very, very dense crystals that are stacked up on top of each other, that are six-sided. And it sits right in the back of the third ventricle towards the top of the head. And it's in that third ventricle, which is like a chamber where the two hemispheres of the brain come together, and the limbic brain is wrapped around it, right? So the pineal gland kind of sits right in the dead end in the corner there. There's fluid in the body that is inside the brain and the spinal column, wrapped in this very dense connective tissue called dura mater. And the fluid bathes the central nervous system. It creates buoyancy, it transmits nutrients and neuropeptides. It has a neuroprotective role to, if there's trauma, it can slush around in there. And it really enhances, because of its makeup, electrical charges. So it facilitates conductivity in the nervous system. And there's just a very natural mechanism in our biology that when we take a breath in, the sutures of the skull open up and the sacrum bone flexes back, and that fluid kind of drains down. When you exhale, the sacrum kind of flexes forward and the sutures of the skull close, and it kind of decreases the volume. And by pushing that sacrum bone forward slightly as you breathe, and the volume closing, it propagates a wave that pushes the fluid up. So it's this very 2-step forward, 1-step back mechanism, 3 steps forward, 1 step back, 2 steps forward, 1 step back and forth by normal respiration. And it starts at the base of the spine, and that sacrum bone goes up all the way to the brain, and then there's 4 chambers. There's a fourth ventricle at the back of the neck, right at the brainstem. Then there's a long aqueduct, like a long tube, and then it enters the center called the third ventricle. That's where the pineal gland's sitting. And then there's these 2 horns, these 2 lateral kind of horns that are other lateral ventricles, where the fluid goes there. And then it goes whoop around this head and goes back down. So we do a particular breath by using the intrinsic muscles to blow air out, and then follow your breath from your perineum and to pull that life force,
which is
the creative force.
Perineum is the space between things.
The space down there. And the same muscles used to eliminate front and back, same muscles used for intercourse. And to coordinate the movement of the muscles, instead of releasing energy out, to practice pulling that energy up with your breath, following it into your lower abdomen, locking your belly button down, continue your breath into your gut, lock your core, and if you go 1, 2, 3 like that, bring your shoulders down, lift your chest up, straighten your spine, that fluid starts to accelerate up by increasing pressure in there.
Feel it? Dude, your voice is echoing me from the retreat.
So when you accelerate these charged molecules, they have a charge. And if you accelerate charged molecules quickly, it creates an external field called an inductance field. Get that fluid starting to move and accelerate, you're going to start to create a field like this. And as that field begins to move, that energy is going to be tunneled right up that tube, right up that inductance tube, and the sympathetic nervous system is going to switch on, is going to drive that energy right to the brain. You finish your breath right up at that sixth center, you keep your attention right there, and that's your target. And there's a way that you can practice kind of compressing this phallus in the right way that begins to exert a mechanical stress on those crystals. The mechanical stress on those crystals begins to create a polarization between the points on the opposite end. Like they're diamonds, right? So I get a positive charge here and a negative charge here. And when the materials become polarized like that, it begins to produce an external electromagnetic field, and it says the field is reversible. So compress the crystals, and all of a sudden, shimmer the crystals, you get a charge there, they start separating from each other, and now you got this bank of crystals that are emitting an external electromagnetic field. The field goes out, and the crystals have physical limitations, they can't stretch anymore, and when that happens, the field reverses, and it compresses the crystals again, and all of a sudden, you have this little radio receiver that can pick up frequencies that are in exact alignment with those waves. So now it said that it's a transducer. So now you have energy moving to the brain, and if all of the mind is in the body and all the emotions are stored in the body, then when the sympathetic nervous system switches on, it's taking all that energy in the form of emotions and it's releasing it back to the brain. And a gate in the brainstem opens up and energy moves right into the limbic brain, the seat of the autonomic nervous system. And the brain moves into those high gamma states. Now, when the pineal gland becomes electrically activated and it's charged, now you have a positive charge here and a negative charge down here. And what do you have? Now the body becomes a magnet. And the intensity of the activation of those crystals naturally is going to automatically draw those charged molecules to it. So now you have this prana tube moving an enormous amount of energy, and the person is switched on. When that occurs, and the brain is going into this heightened state, and the nervous system, the lights are dialed down in the thinking personality, neocortex, autobiographical self. You're in theta. The anesthetization of the energy moving into the brain kind of causes you to stop analyzing and thinking, right? That anesthetization that takes place, the person now, all of a sudden, the limbic brain switches on, and now if the nervous system is coherent and lights are out in the neocortex and it's oscillating in order like a tuning fork, the antenna that's sitting right on the top can pick up information as long as the nervous system's coherent. Can't read any information if there's incoherence. There's no order. Static. Get the person coherent, and now all of a sudden the radio receiver can start picking up information and transducing. In other words, taking the information like a TV signal on your TV antenna, and that antenna then's picking up that information and transducing it into pictures on your TV screen.
Different channels.
Into different channels. And so there's an infinite number of frequencies in the quantum, which means there's a lot of experiences for us to have in the unknown self that exists beyond our senses. So then we discovered in our functional MRIs that when the person has the default mode network shut off, which means they're not trying to predict the future, they're not trying to anticipate anything, they're completely in the present moment. When the default mode system is shut off, then when you don't expect anything to happen, that's when the unexpected happens. The